Hi, welcome back to Golf Training Hacks. We all know that the position of the club face at impact is critically important. If the club face is too open, it's likely going to slice or block the ball to the right. If the club face is too closed, it's likely you're going to hook or block the ball to the left. And we also know that the path of the shaft is so important. That over-the-top vertical shaft, that outside-in path, causes a lot of problems. We really want an inside-out path that creates some lag, and we want to keep that lag through impact. Now, actually through impact about 45 degrees out in front of impact. You don't want to release lag at impact. So that's all true. But what's not thought about a lot is how your hips impact your club face. Now here's what I mean. At address, what we should be doing is setting a neutral spine. Because that's the spine position that buffers force best. When your spine is in a neutral position, it can handle force. A lot of force in the golf swing, so we want a neutral spine. That's some extension in your lower back, some flexion in your upper back, and some extension in your neck. So you're going to set your neutral spine, and then your hip hinge back, meaning your hips go back and your belt buckle is pointed to the ground. So that's your address position with a little bit of a tilt in your spine away from the target. Now this hip hinge angle is kept through your backswing, right? You rotate into your stable neutral spine. You want to rotate around that spine. You don't want to have a lot of movement here. And then as you're coming down into impact, you still have this hip hinge. So at impact, we should look something like this, where your knee is pushed towards the ball into the target. You've rotated on this foot. This hip goes into extension. You have your ankle, knee, hip, and shoulder basically in one line. You have some shaft lean. The force is ahead of the mass of the club. That's going to give you control. So roughly we're in this position. We're keeping this hip angle pointed down to the ground. Unfortunately, a lot of golfers can't do that. They don't have the strength in their hips to control the rotational force in the golf swing. So they end up standing up at impact. Now that creates a host of problems, but it also changes the way your club face impacts the ball. So here's what it would look like. So if this is a good position at impact, we can control that club face because our hands are ahead of the mass of the club. That's going to give you control. When your hands are behind, you lose control of the club face. So we're in this good impact position. Now, if we are in a position where we haven't rotated into this position and we're standing up at impact, what happens is the club shaft becomes more vertical. That means the toe of the club digs into the ground more, and that's going to ruin your shot. Also, the face opens up a little bit more. So as you come from a position where you're standing up at impact into a position where you are in a good impact position, you're going to gain more control of the club face, and the club face is going to impact the ball the way you want it. That has to do with your hips and strengthen your hips. So we want our golfers to be able to control the rotational forces coming through a golf swing. So to avoid early extension, standing up at impact, and losing control of the club face, we need to improve the function and strengthen our hips. So in this video, we're going to give you some exercises to improve your hip strength so you can better control the forces of a golf swing. So let's get started. In this video, I'll show you how to do a bipod dumbbell row. This is a great exercise to get some strength in your upper back and also get some isometric strength in your legs. And that's going to help you control the rotational forces in the golf swing, because you need isometric strength in your lower body to help control the rotational forces. So you just need 2 dumbbells. And you're going to the reason why it's called a bipod is because you're going to set a position like this. You're going to put one leg forward. You're going to toe your back leg and drive your front knee out over your front foot. Now this is going to put some pressure on your thigh and get some isometric strength there. So from the front, I'm going to toe up in the back, drive my front knee forward. I'm going to lean over my front leg. Now, when you're leaning over your front leg, you don't want to be rolling your back. You want to keep that neutral spine, just like in your address position and throughout your golf swing. So you set your neutral spine, you drive this knee forward, and then you lean over, and then you're going to row for how many reps as you feel you can get. Okay, so from the front, set your neutral spine, toe up, drive your knee out over your foot, keep that neutral spine, and row. Now you could also row one side at a time. So that's a great exercise to get some strength into your isometric strength into your thigh and get some strength into your upper back. In this video, I'll demonstrate an address position pulley rotational row. Now, it's important to get some functional mobility into our hips. So a good way to do that is to mimic, to an extent, what happens in the golf swing. So let's mimic what we're going to do on our backswing and at impact and through release. So on your backswing, you're going to drive your foot forcefully into the ground, putting pressure on the inside of your foot, and you're going to extend your hip backwards. So this hip is going backwards on your backswing, and you're not swaying over your rear foot. Now, as you come through impact and release, you're driving forcefully into the front side, and then this hip is going backwards as well, and you're creating that line with your ankle, knee, hip, and shoulder being in one line as you come through your address position. So as you come through impact and release, this hip and leg is extending forcefully into the ground, and your hip is going backwards. So let's use a pulley system to mimic that rotation in your hips. So to do this exercise, you're going to need some kind of pulley system. Something like I have hooked up onto a door. You can use pulleys and hook it onto a door frame, or at the gym you'll have plenty of access to these type of machines. Now you want to use the pulley system from the bottom, so you want it to be going from the bottom up to you. So what you're going to do is grab with two hands, set your address position. You're going to hip hinge back, get that spine angle leaning a little forward. You're going to draw the bands into your hips, and then you're going to extend into your backswing. Draw the band into your hips, extend into impact, and do this for reps. So that's a nice way to get some functional mobility into your hips as we mimic, to some extent, what's happening in the golf swing. So classically, the Romanian deadlift is done with a barbell and plates. As I said, it's actually the top of a deadlift. So I'm not going to go into the deadlift right now, but I'm just going to deadlift this bar up, and then I'm going to do a Romanian deadlift once it's in the right position. So I'm going to deadlift this bar up. So I have the bar against my legs, my shoulders are engaged, I bend my knees just a little bit, they stay bent at that angle, and now my hips go back, hips go back, hips go back. I keep that neutral spine and come up. Hips go back, the bar is engaged, hips go back, hips go back, hips go back, and up. So that's a classic Romanian deadlift with a bar and plates. If you found that helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to check out other videos on the channel to help you improve your movement quality, improve your golf swing, and keep that useful fluid swing while staying injury-free.